Okay, if you join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we start today's meeting, I'd like to talk about our process. The meeting will be conducted in person as well as by phone and Zoom. This allows participation in person or remotely. We will conduct a roll call to determine who is present. Throughout the meeting, we will call on individual planning commissioners to make sure that everyone has had a chance to be heard. Planning commissioners, please state your name prior to speaking. We will conduct a similar process for comments from the public. We'd like to thank everyone for their understanding and patience. Minutes and audio recording will be available on the Planning Commission website. Call this meeting of the Crook County Planning Commission to order. Today's date is July 9th, 2025. The time is 3:02 p.m. The people joining me are your Crook County Planning Commissioners. We are volunteers that have been appointed by the Board of County Commissioners and make up a diverse cross-section of the community. Planning Commission will consider the following agenda items. Planning Commission vacancies, candidate interviews, discussions of recommendation of candidates to the Board of County Commissioners. And number 2, public hearing, record number 21725000150 PLNG dash a 7-lot subdivision application. Next, we'll do a roll call for the Planning Commission. George Pont, George
No one is
Marlo,
present
Rita Steck,
here.
Hunter Newhart,
Here.
Les Williamson,
Here.
Michael Warren is here. For commissioners who are absent, will staff please indicate for the record which absences are excused or unexcused?
They're all excused.
Is there anyone in the meeting room or participating remotely that wishes to address an item not on the agenda? If attending remotely, please enter a request to speak into the chat function. Do we have anybody?
No.
Okay, hearing and seeing none, we will now mute the phone lines of those who are not staff or commissioners and move to the first item on the agenda. Planning Commission vacancies, candidate interviews. So, you guys need to say anything, or do we just dive into this?
I think we dive in.
Okay, so we have
Actually,
7.
Chair, let me retract that a little bit. One of the candidates, Christina Cedric, so our county code doesn't have a provision that they have to be a member, they have to be a resident of Crook County in order to be the planning commission. She's planning on moving here. She's not moving here within this calendar year, but there is in statute, we found that you have to be a resident of the county in which you're a planning commission member, which makes sense. And so I called her and let her know, and so she's not going to be here today. But I think you will see her in the future as the comments.
Okay, well, thank you.
She's been removed from.
I was actually gonna have her come first and explain that, because that's right, how I read it.
Yeah.
So, okay,
And Chairman, there is more information in your script before we start.
yes,
Yeah.
no, I knew, I just didn't know if you, yeah, okay, gotcha. I see what you're saying. Okay, so for the interviews, we'll be making recommendations to fill one of the open positions. The candidates will be interviewed. Oh, you have the order, okay.
You can go whatever order.
So what I did is I randomly did the order. So the order will be changed up a little bit. Planning commissioners will be asking questions and then deliberate on the recommendations, which will be presented to the Board of County Commissioners at the next available meeting. By county ordinance and state statute, there are to be residents and representative of the various geographic areas of the county with no more than 2 individuals in a development business and or 2 in any similar profession. The role of the planning commissioner is to provide a fair, balanced, informed decision on various land use applications brought before them. The commissioner is part of the hearing body for several types of land use decisions that cannot be made at the administrative level, most of which are judicial, quasi-judicial in nature. Planning commission also hears legislative requests to make recommendations for the board considerations and final decision. Additionally, the planning commissioner serves as part of the community advisory team for long-range planning projects and policy level discussions. The goal of each decision is to have a robust public process to provide a clear, objective findings which consider property rights, Oregon revised statutes, Oregon administrative rules, Crook County Code, and Crook County Comprehensive Plan. As we move through the interview process, the applicants may wish to be present for all of the interviews or wait in the lobby, and we will let you know when it's your turn. After the interviews are conducted, planning commission will deliberate to discuss the interviewees and then make recommendations of staff to present at the Board of County Commissioners. The candidates may choose to leave during the process or stay and receive. Okay, just so everybody's clear on that, this is a little different interview process. We were just talking about it up here. Everybody's going to be hearing how people are interviewing. As we go into discussion, everybody's going to hear that. You're more than welcome to leave the room. It's totally up to you or stay. So we just want to make sure everybody understands that. Okay. So in Mike's lottery drawing, I do have Frank Crook first. So Frank, if you want to come up here to the podium there, you have to kind of speak real close to that mic.
Okay,
And just state your name and address for the record.
my name is Frank Hook, 3367 Southwest Land Road, Butte, Oregon.
Okay, and I think what we'll do, we do have your application, but is there anything you want to tell us about why you're wanting to do this? And then we'll kind of go into ask some random questions.
Well, the reason not that I know of, there's nobody representing Butte currently that I know of. And just want to represent Butte and give it the right direction that it needs to go. Way of life of people out there, Butte, or the rural way of life and rancho way of life.
All right, so we just have kind of some questions. I'm going to start with the freedom. You were right.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. How do you feel that your experience or skills are applicable to this position?
I've got 57 years old. I've probably got 57 years of ag experience under my belt. When I was younger, there was many times where I saw the sun come up and the sun go down horseback. I've been around cattle and ranching and farming my whole life. My family, that's what we've all done our whole lives. I've come from generations of farmers and ranchers. And this is a rural and farming and ranching area. You're welcome. Thank you for the question.
Just to follow up, and you may have said this originally, but have you always lived in Crook County?
No, I lived in Central California for 52 years. And I've worked on ranches down there. Some of the biggest ranches in California. I worked for the Hertz Corporation for 23 years, cowboying, running farm equipment and running their hunting operation for 15 years. Worked on all the ranches down there. Smith Livestock, Hertz Corporation, Tom Block Enterprises, Smith Livestock, the Estrella Ranches, a lot of ranches. And farming,
And
and farming,
kind of goes hand in hand. Huh?
goes hand in hand, yeah.
How long have you lived in Crook County?
Going on 8 years,
8 years.
yeah.
And so I'm sure you're aware Crook County is one of the fastest growing areas in the state.
Yeah,
It's also home to some of the most expensive real estate in the state. What are your thoughts on balancing the needs of current residents, people moving in, along with our younger generation who really want to stay?
you're right, Crook County is very expensive. It's, when we first moved here, we got lucky. But as far as the way the direction is going, I do believe there has to be some industry, but in moderation. It can grow real fast. Where I was from, I've seen small towns turn into industry overnight. And in my opinion, it was sad to see, because that's just where I come from. I come from ranching and farming. I'm not opposed to industry, but as long as it's in moderation and not overnight, that's, you know, the way I stand.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well,
You have one.
Rex Hunter. So how do you approach making a decision when community opinions are divided?
You gotta be fair and honest and by the law of the county. You know, there's gonna be people say, well, why didn't you vote this way? Well, because that's not by the law. That's not being fair and by the law of the county. My wife was on a school board for 3 years, and you're not gonna make everybody happy. Just not gonna do it. You're gonna have friends, and you're probably gonna lose some friends. But if that's the way they wanna beat it that way, then so be it. But you gotta be fair and honest and by the law. Plain and simple, all it is, in my opinion.
So there are times when we're having discussions and we're not all in agreement on the board. How would you describe your communication style? Especially if maybe half of us are not agreeing and want to communicate. How would you describe your communication style?
Well, I say we need to deliberate and think about it. And everybody's got their own opinion. That's just the way it is. But if we can come together, and that's what we'd have to do, we'd have to come together and we'd have to discuss it. Plain and simple. I think. Well, everybody, got some of you or half of you don't wanna agree on one thing, and some of you don't disagree on the other thing, but you just have to sit down and talk about it, so we do agree.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are you on any other, boards or committees that are familiar with like Robert's Rules of Orders, how meetings are conducted, things like that?
No, sir.
Okay.
No.
Do you have any questions for us?
No, sir.
My husband's grandparents ran bands of sheep in the Shandon Hills. It's
Really?
been decades ago, but yeah,
May I
so
ask,
that area has really changed.
may I ask you what your family's name is? Last name?
Their last name was Erotaberry. And we're, yeah, I'm thinking of who you know.
I know they're Roddenberry.
Our last name's Dill, but
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know they're Roddenberries. Yes. Small world.
it is a small world.
It's very small. Yeah. So. Yeah, but it was funny that you said that. As soon as you said Roddenberry, I know they're Roddenberry, and not in a bad way. There's some goofy ones.
Yeah,
But every family has those.
they do.
Yes.
We do.
Yeah, and so do I. Yes.
All right, thanks, Frank. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, next on Mike's picks for the week. Monty Kurtz.
Good afternoon, Monty Kurtz, Pal Butte, Pro Tem Commissioner as it is today. And just thanks for having me in here again for consideration towards filling one of the positions that are open.
Anything else you wanted to add? I guess just because you have been pro temp for a while, is there anything else you wanted to add?
I don't know. I mean, I learned a lot last week and over the last few weeks, just you know, with the solar project that went through, what, you know, things that we can think about and look at. And things that we have available, tools that are available on the board now versus tools that maybe need to be considered or discussed. You know, in work sessions, things like that. I think it's a big learning curve for what is there and isn't there, and then how much does the commission want to pose rules into things that people are going to be upset about, or, you know, push ideas. You know, and that, to me, that's kind of that's a balancing act. You know, how much do you want to impose on landowners versus, you know, leaving it the way it is, which leaves doors open for whatever. And so it's kind of been interesting the last couple of weeks going through that process, and yeah, it's just, okay, yeah. Sorry, you did.
Well, I don't know. These are all questions I think you answered last time I was here. So where do you think the future of Crook County lies?
It's a good question. There's so many different things coming at us. We have solar stuff coming at us. We've got the big, you know, the big corporations up on the hill, you know, trying to expand and grow. I don't know if there's enough actual job producing industry coming into the area as much as there are people from other communities such as Bend and Redmond, because it's more affordable here than it is there. I see a lot of people traversing to and from, which impacts all of us in different ways. And so I don't know, there's so many different things going on. It's really tough to really get a picture of where we're going to be at in 5 or 10 or 15 years. But I think that, you know, we have the opportunity to guide that with the rules that are available to us.
So I'll ask you the same question, Monty. How long have you lived in Crook County?
I moved here in 2016. And we bought our house. We got lucky, just like they did. Just happened to buy it at the right time, and have been pretty fortunate, and went through the process working with the planning development department to put an EDU on our property so that I could give my parents a place to retire in. And it's been really interesting, you know, to be a part of the community, get involved. I figured this is probably one of the better community service opportunities, you know, along with other, you know, things that I do in the community. I think it's a great opportunity for community service, so we really like it here.
He's answered.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so what challenges do you think local farmers will face that land use policy can help address?
That's a good question. I think I don't know if the land use policy, because the state controls water, I think that's probably gonna be the biggest impact that farmers run into, or obstacle, is whether they're allowed to use the water they have, whether somebody's trying to, you know, hold them back because of the, you know, the things that are going on at the state level. I think farmers themselves, I don't know if the land use, you know, shy of, you know, somebody having property that is viable for farming or ranching, and then somebody else buys it and puts solar on it. That may be an obstacle or have an impact on communities. But other than that, I don't know off the top of my head, you know, what its obstacles would be. Having grown up in Southern Oregon, you know, in a ranching environment, chasing cows, and you know, I don't do that anymore, but I do have a fair amount of experience with it, and have seen a lot of the trials and tribulations that farmers and ranchers go through, you know, throughout their days and weeks and years. So those impacts can come from out of nowhere.
Do you have any questions for us? I know this is kind of weird because
That's okay. You know, I like it's a great opportunity. I think, you know, I really enjoyed so far. I've enjoyed it, everybody, and everybody seems to get along really well. So you'd ask the question about, you know, when people get along or how they come on a split decision or things like that. I think that level heads tend to prevail. with things like that, so. Yeah, I think it's a good group, and I think so far, for the last couple of years watching and kind of seeing how things go, it's never seems to be very lopsided one way or the other, it's very level headed. Work well together, so.
Okay, any other questions for Mark? Okay, thanks, Marty.
Thank you.
Okay, I had Jack next, if Jack's not here.
Great.
When I had Nicole. Oh, this is not here. I didn't know if any of these people, that's why I'm looking at you guys.
Yeah, we didn't get confirmation emails from people this time. I did email Nicole a minute ago, but no response yet, so.
Okay. I imagine she might be a little busy. Okay. Pam Williams, Hannah, right? Then you state your name and address.
Pam Tano, 795 Southeast Elm Street.
Really talk loud into the microphone.
Sorry.
Pam Tano, 795 Southeast Elm Street in Prineville.
Okay.
I'm nervous.
That's okay. So besides what's on your information you filled out, is there anything you wanted to tell us or add before we just kind of start asking you questions or?
I'm kind of a newcomer to Prineville. I've been in Crook County 5 years. So I'm a little bit of a newbie, so I'm still learning. It's very hard to catch up with all the laws and ordinances and the style of for governing, although I was kind of like one of those kids in school that grew up during Robert's Rules of Order and pretend government we have in school. And so I'm a little familiar with that, and I love to read technical documentation. It's the OCD of mine. And I thought I might just throw out some of the answers to the other questions that other people had, because I thought there were some
Like, eat the mic.
eat them.
Just,
Yeah.
just like, yep, get it right.
Got it right.
There we go.
Now I'm really nervous.
But yeah, if you wanted to do that, if there were some things that were asked that you wanted to elaborate on, go ahead.
I was thinking about the land use and Crook County, and I'm a little bit on the techie side, and I've seen some different opportunities for saving water and electricity in a land use arena that maybe we could explore. And I think for me, when it comes to communication, the most important thing for me, I'm from an engineering background, so it's really important for me to understand how other people get their answers or what exactly they think. So I ask a lot of questions and I try to really understand your point of view. Sometimes people think I'm on the wrong side or on the other side because I'm trying so hard to get your point of view. So I try to just be really neutral. That was a lot, sorry.
No, that's fine.
In your application, you noted that you're eager to contribute rigorous research and objective review of proposed things. Just, I don't know if you're aware, but the planning commission members as individuals are encouraged to not do their own research. So you might have heard that before, but
And I'm
that's
very
one of the
appreciative
things
of
we
that.
rely on as staff to present us with the information. So are you good with that?
So wonderful. I'm so appreciative of that. I think more, I like to go in depth into detailed documentation. I don't really like to go out looking on my own. How's that? And the fact that they presented to you so well, I've been watching it. I feel could learn with it.
So communication style, you've got a soft voice. So how would you describe your communication style when we get into adversary discussions and the discussion heats up? How do you handle that?
I kind of neutralize an emotion, but for me, I tend to hold, like, say, if I'm gonna hold to 2 + 2 is 4, I might try to explain to you several times why it equals 4, but I don't really argue. I might want to understand why you think it equals 5. Because maybe I could be wrong. I tend to kind of take that attitude. Could I be wrong? And I want to hear how you got there. So I kind of tend to take a long time because I say, well, how did you start to get there? And then I go back and I go, you guys are going over it again. I go, I understand. Or if I really believe in something, I'll definitely bring why and show, well, it's this, not like I have a gut feeling. I really.
Okay, thank you.
You are an engineer,
Yes, you.
no doubt.
I grew up with a slide rule.
How would you handle a situation where you're unfamiliar with a technical aspect of a land use proposal?
That's a little bit what I'm worried about because I feel like I'm behind the ball. I don't know the laws and such as well as y'all. And so I really have to evaluate what y'all present to me because I'm just so black and white. It's like that would be it. Or if we have to come up with an answer, it would be more that that would be so nice. I wanted a technical question. I just go, can you guys find out if X, Y, and Z is able to be here? I don't even have to go look for it. You just ask and then, oh, well, that's cool. Wow, this is a good job.
Thank you.
I guess I have two questions. So much. Do you have any involvement in agriculture?
What that would be.
And then, where do you see the identity of this town and the future growth? Where are we going?
So I get involved in trying to get community opinions because being a newcomer and being from California, I came here because I love it and this is what I love about it. But I have to understand what the general public wants, you know, because 20% of us are over 60, 20% of us are under 20, you know what I mean? It's not just my opinion, it's all these different people's opinions. And so I'm really trying to understand how industrial they want to go. We want to go. Everybody wants to go because we could do it, you know, so many different ways, but we have to represent the people. And I think that's been something that I found interesting with what I call my old lady crew. We get together and talk about things. And that's one way to get opinions from other people, not just my own in terms of where the county wants to go. But I guess my first fear is water and then electricity. So I guess I'd be looking for solutions for that because you can't do much if you don't have enough water and electricity.
Are you involved in any other committees around town or groups or?
I just attend the city council meeting at Prineville and the different committees for Prineville, because I live in Prineville.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of watching, observing, and, you know, occasionally contribute something that. It's our town, right?
Yeah. And you said you've been here 5 years, is that correct?
5 years, maybe.
You did not buy in the perfect time.
I did not. But I still have.
All right, well, that's good. I mean, we're glad people come here.
Yeah.
They're happy. Is there any additional questions that you have maybe for us that you wanted us to know that we didn't ask you or something? Okay, any other questions? All right, ma'am, thank you. And again, just need your name and address for the record.
Kurt Jobanini, Rich's Lane, Pine.
Okay, Kurt, anything else besides what's on here that maybe you've witnessed the last, since you've been the pro tem, of what you'd like to add to this before we ask you questions?
There's something that saddened me that happened the other day was I lost a really good client. The mill here in town shut down, and that's sad because there was about 150 people that grew up here in Primal that had jobs up there and they lost it. That's why in my first time I talked, I said, we need to get something to get some jobs. Well, I met my friend at the gas station. He's gonna lose his pickup, he's gonna lose his camp trailer. He was making $30 an hour and they walked in there one day and they shut it down. Those are primal jobs, and those are what people that grew up here are qualified to do. They're not qualified to work up here at Facebook because they're not engineers, they're not electricians. They're just normal kids that grew up here in Pineville and want to live here. And I want to be proactive with the problems that we're going to be facing in Crook County. And I also want to be thankful for the businesses that have been here for 40 or 50 years, and not forget about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't want to ask that, did we ask you last time, what is your vision for the future of Crook County?
Well, like I told you, kids, my vision is to be able to have one of my kids be able to stay in Prineville and make a living. And right now, if you're a family and you have kids, they're leaving as soon as they get out of high school, and you pray they go to college, otherwise they end up on drugs or alcohol, or I hope that the vision of Prineville is something to try to focus towards our children. I mean, it's like what we talked about, our pool, I believe, is from the 40s. Yet we can't get people to vote for the pool because the only people that are moving here are people who already have money, and they're using us for a bedroom community, not thinking about us people that have been here our whole life. And that I mean, we don't want to leave. But it's like, what are our options? And so I hope that the future can think about the people that have been here their whole life. I'm sorry if I kind of got off track with that question, but I'm very passionate about Crook County. I'm been here many generations. That's why I'm here. Because like I said earlier, if you don't make no waves standing on the side of the road bitching all the time. You do it by showing up and being proactive and engaging in your community. And that's what I plan on doing. And I appreciate you guys putting me on as pro temp. That's a big step for me. So.
Well, Kurt, I'm not gonna ask you how long you lived in Crook County because that would tell us what your age is. But could you describe, you've got a very diverse background, a lot of experience, a lot of different areas from agriculture to construction. So, how do you think that experience would help us on the board and help us for the community planning?
Not only have I just worked here in Prineville, I've worked in Salina. My kids just graduated from Powell Butte School. I know Crook County. The only problem I can foresee is I've been here so long that when things come up to the planning commission, I'm gonna know where they are, because at one point I ran this rock pit, or I worked in this area, or,
So how would you handle that situation?
I think that it needs to be done with an open mind, and that's why there's 7 of us up here, is because we vote on it as a group. It's not just me, I'm gonna have my opinions. You're gonna have your opinions, Marlo, but at the end of the day, what matters is the law and the vote that we all give when we're up there on that stand or stage or whatever you want to call it.
Did you have?
Well, if you had a conflict of interest, say, how would you handle that?
First thing to do is just look at this guy right here.
Say, what do I do? We all do that.
There's a reason why he's in the room, but and there is gonna be some conflict of interest, because if somebody's had a ranch for any amount of time around here, probably, I've hauled you gravel, you know what I mean?
That's
I've hauled
right.
everybody. Mike sold me my house, it's like, so we all kind of know each other when you've been here this long. There's not much you can do about it except for be open and make sure that John's cool with it, I guess.
It's a good answer, Crook.
So, what role do you believe agriculture should play in the future of our community?
Ranching and farming should be what we're all about, because that's what we've always been all about, they call us the cowboy capital of Oregon. And people have come in here and tried to change that, but so far they haven't been able to. I'm very worried about some people that have moved in here lately, because they have so much money that it's like, we have to do what they say. But I would like to keep the farming and ranching our base group. It makes me sad to see some things, without getting into them, that are happening in Crook County with chopping up our farmland. And it's kind of a slippery slope, because when you take away one piece of farmland, somewhere that water's gotta go. Somebody's gotta take the cost of taking that all out. And so it's kind of get passed on and passed on. People think, oh, there's gonna be houses, but when you take away farmland, you don't get it back. You know what I mean?
Do you have any questions for us?
No, I just again would like to thank you guys for giving me the pro temp position and, I look forward to working with you guys and getting to know all of you individually and think we're gonna have a great group and I'm here if you need me.
Okay, thanks, Kurt.
Yeah.
So next, Russ DeBoot, oh, sorry. Don't have enough time. Oh, come on, Russ. Okay, so. With that, we will go ahead and start. I do have a question. Just so we all are on the same page, and I would assume this would be so. If one of the pro tems is one of the decisions for the open position, would we also make a decision to fill the other pro tem?
Glad you brought that up. That's something I was chewing on before the meeting started today. So there is order 2022-52, and I ran upstairs to consult with council to make sure that we were seeing this the same way. And I think the fact that the pro tem position was recent, so order 2022-52 requires that when there is a vacancy that it's advertised for 30 days. Goes through the whole process, yada, 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 like we've done for these openings here. I think since the pro tem position was just recently advertised, it's up to your discretion. If one of the pro tem members gets elected to the planning commission, obviously that opens up a pro tem vacancy. I think it's at your discretion whether we go out and re-advertise for just the pro tem position or whether we select from the pool here that we have now, since it was advertised so recently. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So before we start talking about that, what is all your thoughts on that? Whether we would have to go back out for the pro tem position, or if that's the case where one of these guys ends up getting that position, would we fill it with or offer it to one of the others in the suite?
That would be my preference.
Mine as well. I think we have options to fill that pro temp room. Yes.
Okay. So that would be okay. Just looking at you again, just to make sure.
I'm looking upstairs at Eric's, but yeah, I think we're okay.
Okay, all right, well, let's go ahead and go through these then. So what, anybody want to start? What's people's thoughts?
So traditionally, on the board, we've had somebody from Bellevue and leave two in agriculture, right? And so the way I'm looking at it is we're filling one of those positions, either in agriculture or somebody from Bellevue. And so over at Bellevue. And that's just going off of tradition that's been on the board. And obviously we have candidates here that fill both of those. I think for my first, I think Kirk brings a really good person in agriculture, long line history in the town. I think he's resourceful and he can learn a lot. I think Monty's my second. Also there, he's well presented. But Kirk, because he's been here for so long and he's well diverse in agriculture, it's gonna first up, and I think he can do very well.
I just going right in the same line I was. I like the fact that Kurt has the years of experience in the community. Understands the community, understands their challenges. Same time, Lonnie has a lot of talent. He's out in Bellevue, which I agree with Hunter, that's a slot we're trying to fill. And so I think Lonnie certainly is on track. But my number one would be probably Kurt, and number two would be Lonnie.
I would agree with that. I have Kirk as my number one. I think that he has really stepped up in the pro temp and is looking forward to being engaged. And I think he has a lot to bring to the table in regards to agriculture.
She's still writing.
I was trying to keep score. Sorry, messed up. As far as vacancies concerned, I could put Monty in first place just because it's already what to expect and how to deal with it, and definitely Kirk is the number 2 for the.
Well, he's already,
No, but I mean, as the,
as, okay, I see what you're saying.
To fill the position number 1 and 2.
Okay, so. Well, I think what we'll need to do then is throw this to a vote. I think they're both great, I really do, but, I'm kind of in agreement with the Queen. For the open position. So. Let's do this, somebody make a motion for one of them, let's vote on it. And then we'll see how that turns out, but that's all I can do.
I'll make the motion that we appoint Monty to the permanent position, or that we recommend appointment for Monty to the open
For
position.
the open position. This doesn't mean you agree, but I need a second, so we can at least vote on it.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So now I'll call for the vote. Hunter?
No.
No.
Us? No.
Yes,
And I mean, yes. So,
okay, so,
okay,
no,
right,
okay,
okay, so yes, no.
yes, it's no, okay, gotcha.
Okay, so with that, Monty or Kurt will be.
What I make,
I think you need a motion then for Kirk, that's it.
I'll make a motion to have Kirk as the permanent
I got you.
appointed commission.
Because a motion to recommend the appointment
Recommend.
of the commission position, yes.
Second.
Okay, so a motion and a second. To make, oh, go ahead.
That's, okay,
Got it.
Kirk, open position, okay.
Recommend it to the county board of commissioners. Okay, now. I'll vote.
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's, since we had the others.
Okay,
Okay,
So commissioners, now that possibility has presented itself, we're now, we have your guidance here to bring the recommendation for the planning commission to nominate Kirk for that spot, but now we do have the open pro tem position.
Right.
So now that should be the next discussion.
So-
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I would like to move that we recommend appointment of Monty Kirk to the pro tem.
well, Monty is a pro tem.
No, he's.
We have 2 pro tems.
Oh, we can have two.
Like we already have 2, so they're both pro tems,
Yeah.
and so now
Monty's
we have
already-
Monty as 1 pro tem and then 1 vacancy. And so if you're picking from this pool, it'd be between
It would be
Frank and Pam,
Frank and Pam,
or we could re-advertise.
or we could re-advertise. So, I mean, that's something we need to decide. Also, is if we want to choose between Frank and Pam or the pro tem, but don't commissioner. Or we already decided we would like to choose from this group. So, any discussion? I start with Hunter, what you thought?
I liked Frank for the agriculture aspect. I mean, he's like he's been well involved, lived in California, well diverse. But also I do like Pam, due to her engineering degree. And she wants to kind of know more about people's involvement and how they want to evolve into the industry here. Build it. Like, I like, there's 2 different aspects.
I agree. I think there are 2 good options. I don't think we need to go back there personally.
I agree. We should be advertised.
Any thoughts, Mike?
Well, I think Frank also helps us with the Pal Butte. Because we will be having another position open it up correct?
Sorry.
We're filling a position right now, and in a short term, we're going to have another one open up. We've advertised for.
No, this is.
This is it. That's it, okay. You know, just listening to his background, I'm familiar with a lot of the ranching community that he mentioned. I think that he would be a good option for the pro town.
I concur.
What's your thought?
My thought is that I have noticed that certainly Pam has been attending several meetings before the openings even came up, so I think she has a pretty good viewpoint on what goes on and what we actually do. So I would favor her as the pro temp. Just because I know she's attended meetings, I didn't know who she was, but I saw it.
Yeah,
I almost wanted to ask for everybody to introduce themselves, just so we knew who was here.
Yeah, I, again, agreeing with you again. I don't know why.
Wow.
And it's, I do think Frank also brings a lot to the table. However, if we do have Kurt on it, and we have Hunter.
That's,
And we have Swallow.
That's true.
I mean, we've got, in my mind, we've got agricultural and farming pretty solid, but I like them both, so. I think at this point, we would make a motion on one of them, and then we would, depending on how that went, we would. we do it. So. I would entertain a motion on either one.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that, that we appoint Frank Cook as our new pro temp.
Recommendations.
Recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I'll for the vote. Hunter?
Yes.
Donald?
Yes.
Wes?
Yes.
I'm a no. Okay. So then, motion passes. So the recommendation would be Frank to be recommended to the Board of Commissioners for pro temp. Okay. Thank you all. Pam, thank you very much. So I guess you will take this to the Board of Commissioners.
raise Board of Commissioners the next.
Let us know.
I will let you guys know this time. But yeah, I'm like, we're good with this one. So the next hearing is not set till 4, right, Katie?
Correct.
And so it's 3:48. You guys want to take a brief intermission?
Yes, and then I'm not gonna be here for it. So. This is, which one is this? What's the date?
Mueller subdivision.
Juniper Canyon subdivision, Bueller.
Okay,
Mueller.
so yes, to answer your question, I think everybody fine, we'll take a break. Till then.
Please join us for the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start today's meeting, I would like to talk about our process. The meeting is being conducted in person as well as by phone and Zoom. This allows participation in person or remotely. We will conduct roll call to determine who is present. Throughout the meeting, we will call on individual planning commissioners to make sure that everyone has a chance to be heard. Planning commissioners, please state your name prior to speaking. We will conduct a similar process for comments from the public. We'd like to thank everyone for their understandings and patience. Minutes and audio recordings will be available on the Planning Commission website. I call this meeting to order of the Crook County Planning Commission. Today's date is July 9th, 2025. The time is 4:02. People joining me are your Crook County Planning Commissioners. We are volunteers that have been appointed by the Board of County Commissioners and make up a diverse cross-section of the community. Planning Commission will consider the following agenda items. Other business. We've completed that. Planning Commission vacancy, candidates. Public hearing, record number 217-25-000-150-PLNG-7 lot subdivision application. Next is a roll call for the planning commissioners. George Ponte, is he on with us?
No.
Marlo Dill,
Present.
Lakita,
Here.
Hunter,
Here.
Les Williamson here, Michael absent. For commissioners who are absent, will staff please indicate for the record which absences are excused or unexcused?
George is excused. Could we also call our sitting commissioners that are not on the list? If they could please state their names for the record.
That's it.
Oh, Kurt Giovanni
Here.
and Monty Curtis.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to the next item on the agenda, public hearing for the file, which is the 217-25-000-150-PLNG for a Lot 7 subdivision located in the RRM5 zone, submitted by Greg Kelso on behalf of Sean and Chantella Mueller. The map and tax lot number for the subject property is Township 16S, is in Sugar, range 17E is in Echo, West Meridian, section 20B is in Baker, tax lot 8600. The hearing is being held pursuant to Crook County Code CCC 18.172, administration provisions. Planning Commission will be evaluating the request against the following applicable criteria: Crook County Code Title 18, Chapter 16, Chapter 124, Title 17, Chapters 04, 12, 16, 30, 36, and 40. Also, the Crook County Comprehensive Plan, Oregon Administration Rules, and Oregon Revised Statutes. Ex parte contact, conflict of interest, bias. Do any of the commissioner members have a conflict of interest or bias to disclose? Hunter?
Nope.
Marlo?
No.
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 Has any member of the commission had an ex parte contact with the applicant or any member of the public regarding this matter? Marlo?
No, I have not.
Lakita?
No.
Hunter?
No.
Kurt? No. Monty?
No.
And I'm a no. Are there members of the public in person or participating remotely who wish to challenge any member of the commission? If participating online, please enter a request to speak using the chat feature.
The only staff only.
Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Before opening for testimony, either in person or for those participating remotely, I want to remind everyone that all testimony must be directed to the applicable approval criteria and standards. No person may testify without first receiving recognition from the hearing authority and stating their full name and address. No person may present irrelevant, immaterial, or unduly repetitious testimony or evidence. The commission may set time limits on oral testimony. Does any member of the commission wish to impose a time limit on testimony? Hearing none, shall we set it at 5?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So the time limit for oral testimony is set at 5 minutes. Staff will put a timer on the screen and alert the chair when time is done. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence with enough detail to give the hearing authority and parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. Failure to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with detailed specificity to allow the hearing authority to respond to the issue precludes the applicant from seeking action for damages in circuit court. At the conclusion of the hearing pursuant to CCC 18.172.081, the planning commission may consider any request to continue the hearing or to leave the written record open. There's no request. Let's see, we will start the hearing with a staff presentation. After that, testimony from any federal, state, or local agencies will be allowed. We will then offer an opportunity for the applicant to speak. Individuals in support of the proposal will be heard, then those neutral to the proposal. Next, individuals opposed to the proposal will be heard, and the applicant can at that time offer rebuttal. We will now proceed with staff presentations. All yours.
All right. Good afternoon, commissioners. For the record, this is Katie McDonald, Senior Planner, Crook County. And today we are going to be going through the staff report for the Mueller subdivision. It's a 7-lot subdivision out Juniper Canyon South, about 10 to 11 miles south of the city limits anyway. It's a vacant piece of property. It has Juniper Canyon Road that abuts the west side and private southeast Prairie Schooner Road abutting the north. Is the applicable criteria that Acting Chair Williamson read into the record earlier. Oh, go ahead and next. Here's a vicinity map. The purpley shades on there are existing subdivisions. And the star is the property location. It's approximately 58 acres, almost 59. RRM5 is recreational residential mobile zone, 5-acre minimums. So these RRM5 zone can be split up into a minimum of 5-acre lots. Potentially could be 10 lots. This subdivision is proposed for 7. Access for this subdivision is going to come in. Go ahead and go next. Approximately in the middle of the parcel. And if you go back one, Anna. So about where the star is, or the R on Juniper there on the map, is where access is going to be. So not conflicting with either the north parcels or the southern parcels on that. This is our tentative plan. This is the tentative plan that is not the exhibit 1 that you received today. And do you all have a copy of the larger exhibit 1? Okay, so this is an updated tentative plan. It reflects the name of the private road, proposed road is different. There's also a area for mailboxes and school bus stop along southeast Juniper Canyon Road. At a quick glance this afternoon, those were the 2 things that I noticed that were different on here. Otherwise, lot sizes are the same proposed number of lots and access points. So the staff report has a couple of places in it on page 9 of 27. Section 17-16-020 required findings for approval, sub 3. Some of the staff report was written after the subdivision review committee, which we met on May 20th for the subdivision review committee, and there were a lot of questions and ideas and technicalities that get worked out during that process, which then allows that recommendation for that committee to come forward to the planning commission. One of those was an applicant request regarding the road. So this would be a private road, and the intent is a 7-lot subdivision with a PADT, so an average daily trip. Averages at 4 per lot, puts them over the 21 to 99 road standard, which would be a paved road. This particular finding is proof that financing is available to the applicant sufficient to assure completion of the subdivision as proposed or required. The finding in here asks the planning commission will need to review the criteria and find a way to assure the completion of the road standard if the request to phase in the completion of the road is thought of through the planning commission. So during your deliberations as you go through, generally what happens with the subdivision is that the completion of the improvements and the infrastructure are done prior to the final plat, and that assures that those improvements that are required for development are done prior to the sale of lots, right? So your final plat, when that gets recorded, you can start selling lots. So at what point does that infrastructure, that required infrastructure, those required standards, where do those get done? Generally, county policy is they get done before you record the final plat, because then it can be sold. And then how do those improvements get done? With this proposed finding, the planning commission can acknowledge that the request was made, and the applicant will work with county counsel's office to determine financial assurances required to ensure that the improvements are constructed and approved to county standards. So I just bring that up since that's in the staff report. When you go through deliberations and you go through it after you hear things, we can revisit that if there's specific language that you would like to see in there or specific language taken out. On page 13, under 1716-070 master development, maybe, hold on. Under 1716-080 supplemental information, proposed deed restrictions or protective covenants, if such are proposed to be utilized for the proposed subdivision, that those are submitted with the tentative plan. There is a road maintenance agreement that is submitted with the tentative plan, and there is not a deed restriction or protective covenants that has been submitted with the tentative plan. Planning commission may consider requiring the applicant to record deed restrictions or protective covenants for fire sprinklers in structures with what would be habitable space or dwellings or places where people might sleep. However, we've gone a few different ways in this. So as it currently states, it's with habitable space. Also conformance with the Firewise guidelines. Those historically have been done through CCRs. So when you do sell those lots and you have people moving in, they understand that they're in a Firewise community. They know exactly where the resources are to make sure that they have protective space around their homes and structures. If there's not a CCR HOA in place, what would that, what could those look like? As of right now, they were not submitted with a tentative plan. I did notice a typo on page 15 that I will be correcting. This is not Pinecrest, this is Mueller subdivision. There's some more. On page 20, another typo that I noted. So when we get to page 25. The conclusion is going to be that the planning commission is the information in the record has the applicant met their burden of proof to show how they can meet the applicable criteria and standards. And then proposed conditions are required prior to approval of So go ahead and go next. So these are the required proposed general conditions. They're pretty standard. The approval is based on the information that is submitted today. Any substantial change would require a new application. If they came, you have, and then the next one is within 2 years after the date of the tentative approval, that's when the final plan comes in. That's in conformance with the tentative plan. Do we generally see differences between a tentative plan and a final plan? Yeah, there can be some differences in acreages, there can be some differences in non-substantial elements of the criteria. If there is a different number of lots, if the lots have all changed configuration, if there's a different access point, those would all require a new application or a modification to this approval. Some minor changes in there would not require that, and they do have 2 years from the date of the approval to get their final plat, which would include at this point the infrastructure constructed or bonded. Separate land use approvals, so are to be obtained for all dwellings and other structures to be built. And addresses would be issued at the time of those individual site plan reviews. With the spacing of larger parcel sizes, lot sizes in the county, we don't generally assign addresses at the time of subdivision. We assign those at the time that the driveways come in because it's positionally dependent on where that driveway is of what their address is. So those come in with the site plans. Site plans are a separate process than the subdivision process at this point. All necessary building and on-site permits are to be obtained for any dwellings or other structures that go on. All outdoor lighting would comply with our outdoor lighting standards and under chapter 18.126. And all structures with habitable space are required to have fire sprinklers. Go ahead to the next. So the proposed conditions required prior to the approval of the final plat. So those first set of conditions were kind of those general conditions that apply to the property and the process as it goes. So before the final plat can be approved, it would reflect the road right of way as a private road and along with any reservations or restrictions relating to that. So that would all have to be done in place. Have on that final plat, the right of way be clearly indicated as a private road. And any restrictions with the name Southeast Mueller Court depicted on that plat. The owners of the subdivision would be required to participate in the road maintenance agreement and a copy of that road maintenance agreement as it would be finalized and recorded prior to the submittal of that final plat. Again, we do have a copy of it submitted with the tentative plan. That final plat would show all the drainage facilities, utility lines, water lines, anything that would need to be shown. Any CCRs for the subdivision would be submitted to the Community Development Department prior to the final plat. Again, as of now, we don't have any of those, and they weren't necessarily proposed. All the information from chapter 17.20 or the final plat must be included on that final plat. That's something that we go through and just make sure that everything is outlined as it should be for a final plat. And then all the taxes must be paid and current. Next. There's even more. The owners of the individual lots shall adopt practices in the county's fire ready guide. Adoption of these practices, including recommendations for defensible space, either be incorporated into the CCRs or made part of the architectural design review process for the subdivision. This has been where this condition of approval has generally sat for other subdivisions that have been approved through the planning commission. As of now, there's not a CCR or an architectural design review, so that would be a question for the planning commission is how does that move forward? If that is their desire. All the requirements from the Crook County Sanitarian are to be adhered to. As of now, the site evaluations for each of the 7 lots have been done through the county on-site department. So they already have their septic evaluations done. So just following through with that process and making sure that all the proper permitting and inspections are done. Improvements, including subdivision roads, constructed to Crook County design standards shall be completed prior to the approval of the final plat, or the applicant shall provide financial assurances to ensure that those improvements can be completed. Again, that's, yeah, so after the subdivision approval, you have 2 years to file your final plat and have either a bond or other assurance in place that it's basic, the road is completed to the standard that it needs, or you bond for it. So if the commission wanted to go away from that to offer a phase, like 5 lots would only be 20 PADT, which then would reduce that road standard. However, it's for 7, which does push it above the 21. Next, condition of approval, the developer agrees to maintain the roads within the subdivision until the entire subdivision is completed and the road improvements are approved by the county road superintendent. This is also addressed in the road maintenance agreement. And then that the applicant will provide road cross sections to the road superintendent and the planning department, and that roads will be designed to meet that 21 to 99 PADT standard. So again, it's a 7-lot subdivision. All of the lots meet the minimum parcel size or more. The road, as proposed, does meet the county standards. It will need to be reviewed by the county road superintendent prior to construction, and then post-construction to say it's been built to that standard. 2 years from the approval of the tentative plan to file the final plat. And that's generally the time where the assurity of that infrastructure is completed or bonded for to be complete. So pretty straightforward for me as far as subdivision criteria. We have not received any exhibits other than the updated tentative plan. Do you have any questions for me?
Any of the planning commissioners have any questions of staff?
Yes,
Lakita?
on the. I guess I'm maybe confusing 2 different things. Condition 13, developer agrees to maintain the road until the entire subdivision is completed and road improvements are approved by the county road superintendent. Now, and also, the owners of all lots will be required to participate in a road maintenance agreement. And a copy of that road maintenance agreement will be required prior to submittal of the final plat. So I guess my question is, the preliminary plat here, the way I understand it is the Southeast Newburgh Court will have to be completed to county road standards before any lots are sold. And that when those lots are sold, each property buyer will be required to sign a road maintenance agreement at that time.
Yes.
So. So if there, that was what was leading up to our next question. So the way the individual lots are platted, and to do the road down to the cul-de-sac at the end. Would that be the time that they would put in the space for where a driveway is going to be to each of these places? That could complicate things or not?
So generally what would happen with that is that a driveway, a road approach onto a private drive is responsibility of that property owner. If it's onto a public road or a public way, then the county would come in and say, this is what the road, this is the design for the road approach. Does it need a culvert? Does it not need a culvert? But because it's a private road, those driveways would be able to come in where they would.
Right. So whoever buys the lot can say, I'm gonna put my house here, therefore I want my driveway to be here.
Yes.
Okay. I thought I had one more question. And I think I got the impression that they were not really wanting to have CCNRs, or that they just haven't developed them yet.
I think that would be a great question for the applicant.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so one of the questions, just to clarify, they're asking, instead of having to put the whole road in all in one shot, they're wanting to phase that in as they go.
So this came up during the May 20th subdivision review committee, and that may be something that you could clarify with the applicant
Okay.
on what that may look like. The standards are, this is infrastructure that is required for a 7-lot subdivision. And when it's when a property is platted, then it can be sold. So at what point is that a surety for that infrastructure be in place? Whether that is putting in the entire road and having it completed prior to the final plat, or having another mechanism, a bond in place so that it can be done without a surety.
Gotcha.
So the bond, is that like a performance bond? Based off of being able to complete it?
Correct, yeah, once the infrastructure is in place and approved by the county, then the bond is released.
Alright.
So these are just some things to consider during deliberations. Does the evidence in the record, including testimony received, address and meet the applicable criteria? Do the proposed findings accurately reflect the request and the information in the record for the PC to find that the proposal does or does not meet their burden of proof? And then are there conditions of approval that need to be changed, removed, or added based on that criteria in the record and what you hear tonight? So those are just some things moving forward as you're listening and going through the process to keep in mind.
I do have one quick question.
Yeah.
I realize that the wildlife policy too is not applicable for the zoning. However, ODFW was communicated with. Did they ever respond?
I have not received a response.
So there's no comment.
I have heard no comment.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
And one more question on the section that talks about sprinklers in habitable spaces,
Where are you at?
1716 supplemental information. Sorry, page 13 of 27.
Under 1, proposed deed restrictions, sub 1.
Yeah, it just says the planning commission may consider requiring the applicant report the deed restrictions or protective covenants that require sprinkler structures. Have the letters or letter of, well driller or anything? Is that all documentation? Has any of that been figured out yet?
The wells?
Mhm.
Yes, they do have, so they submitted in the application materials, there is letter from a well driller, and there's also well logs
Okay,
for surrounding properties.
okay.
But-
Sprinkler systems take quite a bit of water, so
like head pressure. So caliper, that's probably not gonna cut it, but. That was just.
Yeah, that's in, so the well driller letter and the well information is in the application material.
Is this the first time this line's ever been tried to broken up and put into a subdivision? Is this the first time it's ever been attempted?
I didn't see any history on it. I think it was it part of the barn house? Partition a couple of years ago, potentially, but not a subdivision. I didn't see a history on that.
Have any of the neighbors, had any water issues? We've had droughts for wells, anything in the well logs about that?
So the well logs are housed with the Oregon Water Resources Department, so it's not something that, community development and planning, we don't regulate wells and water, right? So when we're looking at this, in this particular, in the RRM5 zone, there is not an additional requirement for what type of water or what aquifer or how that is to be used. Throughout the county, there's a multitude of ways that people provide water. It can be a cistern, it can be wells, it can be a community water system. So in this particular subdivision proposal, they are proposing individual wells with the supporting documentation in there from surrounding property well logs and the well driller. But as far as like knowing if people have water issues during drought years or something like that, it's really kind of a hit and miss, and just when people call and let us know, because we're not the regulatory agency for that. Great question, thanks.
What else? Okay, we'll move on. Agency testimony. Now we'll hear from any agency representatives. Mr. DeBoot.
All right, can everybody hear me all right? Microphone. Russ DeBoot, Fire Marshal, Crook County Fire Rescue, for the record. Good afternoon, Commission. Here to discuss just a couple items, a few conditions of approval that really have our name on it. One of which is the fire sprinkler requirement. One of which is the fire ready, which is the defensible space standard that Crook County really has adopted. Crook County Fire Rescue really has adopted over time. And I have a few comments on the road construction question as well. So I'll really just kind of start with the sprinkler requirement. I am going to suggest a change to the condition that staff came up with. This is my doing, not staff's doing. They have been very supportive of the fire district and the requirements that we need to meet fire code and all the things. But the topic has to do with the definition of habitable space. And so what the code is trying to capture by requiring sprinklers and subdivisions like this is providing the opportunity for the occupants to get out in the event of a fire. So the sprinkler system that you find in a residential dwelling is not the same one that you see in a mill. It's not the same one that you see in a hotel. It's not the one you see in any sort of other commercial occupancy. It's really a basic sprinkler system that is just designed to keep the fire at a level that's manageable so that people can get out of the building. It's not designed to suppress the fire. It's not designed to run for 2 hours at a time. It's really designed to run for basically 10 minutes in conjunction with working smoke alarms so that people can safely exit. My suggestion, and certainly open to questions on this particular topic, is rather than using the term habitable space, which would apply to somebody's shop or anything like that, which folks are not, that is not the design of the sprinkler system. The sprinkler system is not designed to suppress a shop fire. Would be to rather require the fire sprinkler system in all dwellings, dwelling units, or habitable space with sleeping areas. Again, the point of the sprinkler system is to get you out of the house. And most of the time that's when you're sleeping, because when you're awake, you typically see the fire. So that's a suggestion I would like to make. Obviously, that's a change to your staff report. So I apologize for the final hour, Katie. That's my fault, commissioners. But that's a suggestion I have for the sprinkler systems. Is there any questions on? I wanted, Commissioner Kurtz, you brought up actually, a good question. So fire sprinkler systems for a house, can be and oftentimes are, designed to just be utilized by a pressure tank in the garage. So not actually connected to the well or anything like that. Again, we're talking about a minimum level of water. That with a pressure switch, a small pump and a plastic tank in the garage, really the flow, duration and pressure can be met with that. But great question on that. So with that, any questions from the commissioners on the sprinkler requirement?
Yes, I remember when this came up before and you talked about the separate tank of storage water that would run those. But my question is really about what you just said, all dwellings with habitable space. Sleeping with sleeping areas, you went too fast for me.
Yeah, so. In the code, both my code, which is the Oregon Fire Code, the residential specialty code, which is what residences are built under, and the Oregon Structural Specialty Code, which is what anything else is built under. In the state of Oregon, there are definitions of things, and so dwelling has one of them. Or a dwelling unit has one of those. Juniper Canyon currently doesn't, but like in Powell Butte, we talk about ADUs, and the change in the code, the state law that has allowed ADUs. An ADU is a dwelling unit. People sleep in that, and therefore it would be, my code would view that as that's a sleeping area and needs to have a fire sprinkler system in it. To be honest with the commissioners, where we have struggled, both long discussions with planning staff, the building official, myself, is folks oftentimes will submit plans for a beautiful shop with habitable space that has everything in it that doesn't meet the definition of a dwelling. It's got bedrooms, it's got bathrooms, it's got all the things. But it didn't meet the definition of a dwelling, but people are sleeping in it. And again, it was our understanding and our focus, again, to provide an opportunity for folks to safely egress out of these areas where people are sleeping. So that's where my suggestion for the condition is, habitable space, a nice shop with a bathroom, I don't think needs a sprinkler system. A nice shop with a bathroom and a bedroom, although it doesn't qualify as an ADU, people are still sleeping in that space, and therefore that is where the building official and I are currently focused our efforts. Again, is just trying to maintain safety for folks that are sleeping. So it is a little confusing, Commissioner Steck, but that's why trying to capture it with dwelling units and habitable space with sleeping areas. The downside is someone can submit a set of plans that doesn't show a bathroom and it calls it an office, or call a bedroom and calls it an office, and then they put a bed in it. There's no good mechanism to solve people's choices that way. I don't currently have one, and so it's not a perfect solution, but I think it is currently a good spot to be, and we would be comfortable, the fire district would be comfortable with that condition.
Do you want to talk now about fire ready spaces?
I'm happy to move on, unless there's any other questions on the fire sprinklers.
Makes sense to me.
Okay. So fire ready standards. So Crook County, in conjunction with Crook County Fire and Rescue, back in the early 2000s, created a document called Crook County Fire Ready. It's a document that we share widely throughout Crook County. It's focused on defensible space, things that you can do within the first 5, 30, and 100 feet of your dwelling to make it resistant to wildfire that's moving through the area. It is really goes hand in hand with national FireWise standards. Many people have heard of FireWise before. They're really the same thing. The standards are all the same. It's also very similar to the newly adopted Oregon Defensible Space Code, which I know we have probably talked at length with, that came with the wildfire map and all the things. But these are longstanding, really good recommendations for folks to do to improve the resistance of their structure and their property to wildfire. And so we just encourage planned unit developments like this, where we have a density of homes, that it would be important for those homeowners to practice good defensible space. We provide a free service, Crook County Fire and Rescue does, to meet with homeowners to help them with that process, to provide them really, an opportunity to ask us direct questions on what does this actually mean, and things like that. And we actually have a limited grant funding position right now where we can actually go out and do some of the work for homeowners. We're not creating a landscape company. That's not what we're doing at the fire district. But we now have, limited, resource to actually be able to go help folks that need it, to do some of the work, in and of itself. So that's the fire ready, condition. Just one last thing on that. So it's really focused in, and I mentioned it, but, these are 7-ish acre lots roughly. If I'm,
Yeah, it's 7, 5, and a 16.
okay, I'm good at math, but it's not intended for someone to manicure 5, 7, 10 acres of property. We're really talking about the 30 feet surrounding the dwelling. So it's not a requirement that someone has to go chop down every tree on their property, or moonscape 10 acres of property. We realize that folks want to live in a beautiful rural area that comes with all the things that it comes with. And so it's really focused in just that first 30 feet, not the entire.
Any other questions?
Is that enough for Juniper Canyon? 30 feet?
Yeah, so our
In your
field
opinion?
type, if you lind up your juniper trees and weed whack your cheatgrass if you weed whack your cheatgrass every spring and once in a lifetime limb up your juniper trees, in our field type, you're pretty well set. If you don't put a bunch of bark mulch and combustible things right next to your house, and you maintain 5 foot of clear space, you're pretty well set. These standards really are nationwide. And so they really do apply to areas in like Sun River, Black Butte. They're all using the same standards. And so in our field type, they're even more effective, in my opinion.
Okay.
And then lastly, just on the road construction, the fire district does not have a opinion on whether the whole road or half the road or whatever that gets built, but we would request and require that if only half the road is built, the end still gets the fire department turnaround. And so depending on how many times they want to rebuild the fire department turnaround, we just require that it exists. So whether the road is, 200 feet, 300 feet, 500 feet, 700 feet, it doesn't really matter. We still would request that the fire department turnaround exists, while people are living on that street. If that makes sense.
So is that engineered to be able to have a turnaround?
Yeah, so on their plat map, they've done a great job showing it. It really shows, I think, a 60-foot right of way and then a 100-foot circle at the end. Not all of that obviously is drivable surface. That just has to do with right of way and things like that.
But as far as the compact, because I ran into this with another customer, the fire department has certain specs that they want it to be engineered for their turnaround. Is that right?
That's correct. And this current road, being built to the 21 to 99 PADT, meets and exceeds fire department requirements. Great question.
Any other questions for Mr. DeBoot?
I can talk forever, so
Yes, you can.
I will get out of here.
Thanks, Rusty.
Commissioners, thank you. I appreciate it.
Is there any agency representative participating remotely? There's no one online, right?
No.
Applicant testimony. Please state your name and address.
My name's Greg Kelso Land Survey, and I'm representing the applicants for this subdivision. Pretty straightforward. I think you see the map, we talked at length about what's here. I guess I want to get something clear. We discussed at the subdivision review committee meeting the potential for ways to make it more affordable to pave the road in a timely, pavement's expensive. Sean and Chantel are doing something that's a little unique here in that they intend to do this subdivision so that their kids can all get along. And so the build out on this could be potentially years down the road. And so it's going to be kind of silly to build a 1/4 mile of road with pavement. However, because with one house, they may not ever build on it right away, but you know, things being the way they are, they could turn right around and give this lot to their kids and they could turn around and sell it. And then all of a sudden, hey, we need to have a paved road. So today we discussed this back and forth and they both, I think I can put all this to rest. They've agreed to just go ahead and build the county road according to the county specs and eliminate all this stuff that we spent a bunch of time on tonight. We intend to build it according to the county spec and do the paving and all that. In the 2-year time frame to get it done will work. Keeping in mind that this is a tentative map. And the tentative map is a little more than a concept. It's not gonna change much, but one of the things we can do potentially here to help with the cost is we may shorten that road up a little bit. Maybe turn those lines a little bit, bring them back towards Juniper Canyon to cut down on the amount of pavement. It's not gonna be significant, but it may be slightly different. The sizes are gonna be the same. But that's something we might look at. We didn't want to invest a whole bunch of time designing a road or tweaking it, knowing full well that we needed to come talk to you folks first to see what your thought process on that was. But, you know, if we can save even 100 feet, that's 100 feet of pavement. And it won't significantly change the configuration. The other thing I guess I'd like to talk to you about that was talked about tonight was the fire readiness stuff and the sprinkler system. And the CCNRs. Typically that may have been handled through CCNRs. But I believe that both of the sprinkler system requirement and fire ready stuff will be handled by deed restrictions. We've got another representative here tonight, Lisa Pendrock. She's client's attorney that's going to speak on that, how we're going to handle that through the deed restriction. And then with that said, I guess the reason this tentative map got adjusted a little bit today was there was some things that came out of subdivision review committee. And one of them was they wanted to make sure we had a school bus turnout out at Juniper Canyon Road to get the kids off the main road. And they wanted to have a place to have the mail delivered out there. And so we included that. And the name of the street, we changed that. And that was really the only thing that changed before. And that's why that came in late. But I would really like to answer questions you may have if there's anything that, so we can address it.
Greg, one of the question and a comment just for clarification. Les Williamson, by the way. I think somewhere I read where when the new road was going to actually tee into Juniper Canyon. It's good to see on this new plan, the proposed bus turnout area.
Yes.
On the other side, I see also that looks like it's been opened up to 80 or 90% to help.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
On the opposite side of the road from the school bus.
Yeah.
That corner there, instead of a T, it looks like now it's what, 80 or 90% on that turn.
Yeah,
Turn out on the 90.
the way that's laid out in there is in conformance with the county's radiuses and whatnot that they need for the when there's a T intersection.
Okay, so that was to their specification.
Yeah, and it'll all be done, and it has to pass Roadmaster's blessing at the end, so. Yeah, it'll all be done, and that's the other thing we're gonna do is this will all be staked, construction staked. So that when it gets built, it's built to grade and it complies with the design. Same with the cul-de-sac, it'll, you know, compaction tested the whole 9 yards, so. And then he'll inspect it in phases as we're doing the construction.
Okay, fantastic, thank you.
No, the good said, Mr. Gilson, I'm not sure I understood what you said, but let me ask again. It will be built to county road specs, even though it's gonna be a private road.
Correct.
And you said you may cut down on something, and I'm not sure what that was.
The overall length of the road as it shows on the plan now.
Okay, how do you shorten it? I mean,
Well, it's just a matter of, if we move the cul-de-sac back towards Juniper Canyon Road,
Yeah.
that will decrease the length of the road, which means less pavement, which means we may have to reconfigure where those lot lines run actually, but they'll still be designed to have the same acreage and they'll conform to code in terms of what the minimum frontage and this kind of thing are. It won't be a significant change. We're just trying to save a little bit of money on the cost of the road. Initially, when we designed this thing, clients liked the layout of it for aesthetic reasons. It was, more of a rectangular shape, but then they also like their money for when they can spend it, less of it. So we're trying to do this to make it where everything works out.
Thank you.
You bet.
Greg Kirk Jovanay, is there room to be able to put a turn-in lane in the future to go into this so that you're not turning directly off of Juniper Canyon?
You mean if you're coming from town? Well,
I'm just wondering in the future, let's say there's another subdivision that goes on 200 lots, we start getting a lot of traffic in.
there won't be though, Commissioner, because it's a cul-de-sac. And it's maxed out right now at the, what is it? 28 trips a day on average. And so I don't see that would absolutely be warranted. That, and we're gonna be inside the county right away at that point. It's a good question. It's on a very long straight stretch. And as far as the safety of that in terms of visibility, I mean, you couldn't have got a better spot because you can see a long ways in each direction. So, I mean, yes, I understand your question, but I don't think there's really.
Connor Newhart, so it looks like you have a power pole there on Juniper Canyon Road.
Yeah.
Do you guys plan on running the power line through the Mueller Fort, that road you're putting in?
Yeah, there is an existing CEC or Central Electric Co-op power line that runs along with the set of Juniper Canyon.
Mhm.
And we purposely designed the road to come in there so that we can tap into the existing pole that's right there. And it'll run along the south side, and that'll come down ultimately to the design that Central Electric wants. But yes, there will be power extended back to the east end of where the last lot can get access to power.
Thank you.
What else?
Okay, with that, I'm gonna let Lisa come up and speak about the deed restriction.
So Commissioners, Lisa Androck with Fitch and Mary, 210 Southwest Fifth Street, Redmond, Oregon. And I'm here to speak primarily just about the restrictions for the fire safety concerns with the sprinklers and the fire ready requirements. The applicant obviously doesn't oppose having such restrictions for the subdivision and all of the lots to comply with. The concern or question that we have is what is the best tool or mechanism to make sure that those restrictions are clearly defined and actually enforceable, not only by the neighbors in the community, but maybe the public more at large and even the county through code enforcement if needed. So there's been some concern about using CC&Rs because CC&Rs are really a private agreement between the parties to that subdivision, and they're recorded against the property, so they do show up in a title report, but they're only enforceable so long as there is a homeowners association that is formed and maintained through the Secretary of State, so that those CC&Rs can be enforced through that homeowners association. There's also sometimes some limitations that allow other owners within the subdivision to say that's a benefit for my property and I'm gonna enforce it individually. But they're really not very useful in a situation like this because people easily ignore them. There's no HOA ever formed or maintained. And then you gotta get the right number of votes to do anything, and that's just an impossibility. So the best way, I think, to make sure that these restrictions show up in a title report when someone's purchasing the property, so they're aware of it, that it runs with the land and it ensures that it's enforceable by the neighbors or maybe even the public at large, or even the county code enforcement, would be through a deed restriction. And so crafting that is what I'm gonna work with Mr. DeGlue up with to make sure I have the right language to address the right fire restriction codes. Because I have to be clear about the standards that are gonna be imposed. And, I think one of the suggestions is to use the Oregon Defensible Space Code as the bare minimum, because it is a codified adopted code statewide. With a reference also to any supplemental information or restrictions that are used or adopted by the local Crook County Fire Department. And I think that gets us to a place that makes it more enforceable and more meaningful in the long run. Cause you can put anything you want in CCNRs and people ignore them all the time, and then getting into enforcement requires lawsuits and years of litigation to get anywhere, and by then, who knows what could happen. So these make it easier, and then code enforcement could also, use that as a hammer, for different reasons. If someone came in to planning and they wanted to do something on their property and they're in non-compliance, that also could be, prohibition to them moving forward with development on their property. Some of the things, I do like the change to the proposed conditions of approval, regarding the sprinklers to define more what is a habitable space or what is the intended focus of using sprinklers here, as was previously addressed in testimony. And then I like, making it also a condition of approval in the decision that the fire ready policies or adopted policies and procedures, be a condition of approval so that, again, the county code enforcement can enforce that. Without such things, it's more difficult for the county to be involved in enforcing liquor against any property owners. But, so I'm happy to work with, county council or staff, and the fire department to make sure the language is appropriate and acceptable to get to the point of safety that it's a concern. If you have any questions for me, I'm available.
Questions? Thank you.
No questions?
Before we go to testimony, anyone that wants to testify in support or neutral or opposed will need to fill out a form. I haven't seen any forms.
Did I fill out a form?
He's the applicant.
He's an applicant.
Have a seat.
Welcome.
Good
Name
evening.
and address.
My name's Sean. My wife Chantel. We are from Big Fork, Montana. We've been in Montana about 20 years now. Former Oregon residents from the coast. Couple of things that we really want to dispel is that we are not buying this property to make a dollar. Matter of fact, we're gonna lose some money on this because most of the lots are gonna go to our kids. We have 5 kids. So we are trying to do something for them in this day and age when trying to buy land is super hard. Trying to get ahead is super hard. So we're in a position that we can buy the land and hopefully they can figure out how to put a house on it someday. But, we just are looking for a quiet place to retire and be at. And we've been through Prineville a bunch of times over the years, and this is kind of like what Montana was 20 years ago, where we're from. It's completely chaotic. So many people, and this is more quiet, more laid back, and the kind of place we like to be at. So I'm not really going to talk about specifications of whatever. Katie covered it, Greg covered it, Lisa covered all that stuff. So we're just here to be. So that's all we're really looking for, and to have a place where our kids can come and be around us with our grandkids. That's pretty much it.
Thank you for selecting Prineville.
Thank you for having us.
Anyone have any questions? Any more on the applicant side? We have no testimony of support. We have no neutral testimony? Oh, we have, okay. Did they fill a form out?
We never saw one.
We have the sign on sheet.
You did, call in before and find out about them. Is it didn't really come to them?
Well, they're out right here.
We signed up there.
Yeah, there's another, right, go grab it.
Do you want us, do you want us to waste time? You can go up there, I'll pull it out. Okay.
So is this testimony in support?
It's neutral.
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 Okay, thank you. Please state your names and address.
My name is Janice Street, and this is my husband, Mike Street. Our residence is 10517 Southeast Prairie Schooner Road. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
I'm glad, I'm kind of more addressing, I'm glad that you guys bought the property, and it's great that you're developing so that. So our issue being Prairie Schooner Road residents. What, my husband and I bought our property in 1996. And we have been on that residence and on that road for 30 years. We've seen the property that they have purchased go from this big down to partition by the barn house. And now watching it be subdivided. This is all progress and it's all good for the neighborhood and the community. Our issue lies with Prairie Schooner and only Prairie Schooner. And specifically with the road easements. We walked in when you guys were discussing that, and fortuitous or not, that's where our issue is. Our home and deed through a title company is based on that one easement that does reside from Prairie Schooner West all the way to Prairie Schooner East. This is how all of us as lot and landowners are issued title insurance. Not all easements are built the way they are worded and or recorded, which is the issue at hand. We do currently have a 40-foot availability to all, let me restate, from the mailboxes at Juniper Canyon all the way down Prairie Schooner and how it meanders is running at about 25 residents. And if I use the math that they provided, 4 trips a day per 25 residents, we're looking almost at 100 people going in and out that road. The availability for usage is currently at 40 feet. Then there is a 3-strand non-barbed wire with T-posts that run west to east.
On the north side of lots 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Of their projected, we all have some, to get an easement, we all know that some property is burdened for the benefit of other participants. So my current property is burdened by I have 12 acres and my current 12 acres is burdened by a 60-foot easement that helps the 2 lots get to theirs. This particular family has bought this and knowingly and with the Kelso, everything is documented correctly. Everybody's got their T's and I's crossed. But their property is burdened by 50 feet of available of usage of easement. It's worth it. We should be able, an easement is only as good as its availability and or its access. The current 3-strand barbed wire prevents the community of the 25 people
from even, making the road more usable and more friendly,
Why?
wider, because we are limited to 40 feet, not the actual 50, which should be available. Then the other issue with that 40 is then goes to the fire and the Dubuque fellow, is it is causing a life safety issue. If and when the fire trucks do come down and they have to make certain turns, they get stuck. They have to maneuver in a very precarious way. If the fire truck is on Prairie Schooner and a public needs to go by that fire truck, it's not really happening because it's not really a developed road. I'm not asking for anything other than, so we have a problem that there is currently, like I said, a 3-strand barbed wire fence. It just needs to be relocated to its appropriate 50-foot span, because then it shows what is available as usable land in comparison to what is there now.
All right, we originally went through a lawsuit with Martin House and Gardner. And the end of the, we have to pay for the end of the lawsuit was that we would retain our 50-foot easement all the way through up to Prairie Schooner. But at that time, we didn't need the whole 50-foot, so we allowed Barnhouse to put his fence at 40 feet.
Yes.
And we could access the 50 feet if and when we actually needed it. Well, we're starting to need it to get up into our driveway better with bigger vehicles. And Prairie Schooner at one point turns just off this map, makes a right-hand turn, a 90-degree right-hand turn. And that 8 to 10 feet there would also help fire trucks and bigger things go around. And I wouldn't want in the future 10 years from now to have somebody on lot 1, 2, 3, or 4 build something that encroached into that extra 10 feet along there that would have to tear it out later because the easement is 50 feet wide. So all we're really asking is to have you guys move that fence
To it.
10 feet over to its correct spot.
And the other issue is on this exhibit, there's this area that got slash marks in it that says it was vacated. That's only a public vacating situation. This whole thing, if this subdivision goes through and people want to put a fence up and they don't know what the actual usable space is for that lot, then it causes a problem down the road, including lawsuits. And nobody wants that because what I'm talking about has already gone through the legal system. We have a judgment, we have a settlement, we have everything that says we can use the 50 feet. So we don't want them to have to go through. We don't want them to build the road. We don't want them to do, just the moving of the fence shows the boundary of what the actual easement states in the paperwork. We don't want you to go to any expense, but we also don't want to be.
And part of the settlement also was that if the BLM ever
Oh, yes.
cedes
Oh, sorry, there is a
that piece
right
up here
away.
at the top, that right of way part. If they ever cede that to the county and it's actual county and not BLM anymore, then our agreement is we will vacate this part of here.
But that's the way the road is currently built and used.
BLM
We-
it has to be renegotiated this next year.
We are currently accessing all of our properties first across a BLM grant right of way. Then it actually goes on to the legal parameters of the easement. The BLM grant right of way expires next year in September. It was first negotiated 30 years ago by Crook County. When it expires next year, who's in charge of negotiation? Who? But that's how, our main concern is that my title to my land is based on a certain easement. And that's all that I'm concerned about. And where the fence line lies in relationship to the actual easement.
So all we're really asking for is to have the fence moved over to where it's supposed to go to clear the 50-foot easement. So that in the future, people who own, your kids who own 1, 2, 3, and 4, don't accidentally pile cars there or whatever, and then us have to worry about using them actually making a road bigger and have to go through a legal thing of, no, he built his shed and it's 5 feet over into that space.
So the proposed subdivision does have its ripple effect and its touching effect on the community members surrounding their proposed subdivision. It's a great subdivision, everything is great, but it's being affected as in kicking this problem down the road, as it has already been adjudicated once. We're just asking that what was adjudicated actually is put into service.
Okay.
That's all we have.
You know,
And we just don't know.
Like they have the fence
But-
moved 10 feet.
But how do
So-
how do we protect ourselves in this situation? Because with planning, we see you as planning as a protector as well. You're
Solve these problems as they come up, and so far, over the years, it's kind of been kicked down the road.
when Barnhouse sold last year, we tried to, at that time, say how this is. It's because it's 40 feet wide. It's not safe.
Well, when that judgment was made, what was the date on that you went to court and
October 7th, 2010.
so it's very common throughout the United States that fence lines do not represent property boundaries. They're off
Oh, sure.
on every property. So this survey does clearly state that there's an existing 40-foot wide public access easement. And it lists the recording number along the northern,
It's 50 feet wide though.
There's an existing 50-foot wide ingress and egress easement for the benefit of parcels 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, so
Which we own parcels 1, 2, and 3.
Public access.
There- as
That's
people,
in law 3.
as people do, they will sell an easement on top of an easement on top of an easement. We've seen this before, how easements get layered. So there is a first source easement that's 50 feet wide. Then there was a public 40-foot easement that was layered after the 50-foot was in. Now, you
The
can't.
50-foot easement is recorded.
Now, everybody's read the report, everything is great about that 50-foot. The problem again lies with a fence that's there. I cannot remove somebody's property, that would be property damage. I cannot move that fence line to its 50-foot proper location because that is trespassing and property damage. We don't want trespassing, we don't want property damage. Everybody agrees that it's a 50-foot access. We're just asking to be allowed to use the access that is here without trespassing and without property damage.
If BLM decides not to re-up that through there, then the 50-foot wide prairie schooner would have to go all the way up through there.
Clear to the blacktop.
Clear to.
You would have to deal with that at that time.
Right.
But, anyone else have any questions? Does the applicant want to respond to this?
I know this is from the left field, but you're aware of it. And it is an issue for the community that is outside your subdivision.
John?
Chair, he'll have a chance to respond, it's rebuttal period, so
Okay,
it's easier that way.
so we're not asking, we don't want it caught, we don't,
And we don't not want you to do it, it's great to do it, but we would just like to make sure that in
The
the
road-
future, there's no problem. We don't have any and you don't have any. Thank you.
Okay, we don't have any testimony in opposition. So applicants rebutted.
So, Greg Kelso again, in response to, I'm sorry, yes, the street said, we understand their concern. If you're familiar with Prairie Schooner, it's in a part of Crook County. By the way, I'm also the Crook County surveyor, so I've been doing this in Crook County for a long time, 35 years, I think, and back in the 60s, 70s, Crook County allowed some stuff to go on, and thank God for people like yourself that have come in and started to make wise decisions about planning with it. Access out there was pretty much non-existent, and they did it through a series of easements. It's a nightmare, just is. When we went through, we were the ones who did, my firm, who did the partition for the barn houses. And we went to great lengths to denote and ensure that the access easements that existed were denoted on that partition plat. We went to great lengths during that partition plat, and that's all of record and been through planning. The fence line that's in there that was mentioned, I don't know where that fence is at in relationship to the easement line, because we haven't gone out and measured it. Streets said something about, not wanting the current expense. Well, if you built a fence recently, that's not inexpensive, and so they have an easement to go in and work on their road. But moving a fence isn't inexpensive, and so, I'll leave that up to Sean and Chantel, but they have the right to go in and build that road or work on the road, because they have the easement to do so.
at 50 feet or 40.
Whatever the easement is that you have in your title report, because there are a half a dozen at least easements through here, and I would have to go through and look at each individual easement.
What does
Let's let Greg finish.
Yeah, so it's more complicated than just going in and saying there's a 50-foot strip through there, because there may be for one particular lot that's 3 miles back to the east. There may be a 40-foot easement for the next lot. It's very complicated because that's the way it got done. And you see why we need to do dedicated streets the way we're doing them now, where they get dedicated and they're beneficial to, for the access. This wasn't done now. But they exist as an encumbrance on this property, and we've shown those. And so anybody that buys one of these lots will see that on the official plat, and they'll be very made aware that that's where that easement is, and you can't be inside that easement with any kind of a structure. And if the property line is actually up there where you see it, the darker line that's running through, that's where the actual property line is. But then if you come south of that, there is a total of 50 feet wide in their additional easements that have been already granted for access to parties lying east and north of there. So yeah, the fence could be moved. But I really, and this is just my opinion, Sean and Chantel may disagree and be willing to do stuff, but if they want to come in and work on the road, that's fine. They're going to allow them to do that. But I don't think Sean and Chantel should have to move the fence at their expense so that they can build their road. And honestly, I don't think that's a decision that needs to be made by the planning commission. It's a civil matter. And Sean and Chantel are the nicest people on the planet, and I'm sure they're gonna work something out with the streets. They don't want people in conflict with their neighbors. But, as far as that being something that needs to be decided by the commission, I understand your concern, I really do. But it's more of a civil matter between two individual parties. The easements are there and it's an interpretation of law and I think being good neighbors. And I'm sure they'll work something out, but, as for whether or not that needs to be decided tonight by the commission, I don't know if that's necessary.
Okay,
That's my reply.
thank you, Greg.
So maybe a quick clarification based on something that she asked about. If a building permit has to have a 20-foot setback, would the 20-foot setback begin at the edge of the 50-foot easement, not the property line?
I'm assuming you're asking staff, is that
Yes.
correct? Okay, so Katie McDonald, staff. A site plan is gonna be based on the, property line. What, Mr. Kelso said about easements and what that is more of the civil. However, the final plat as proposed is going to show those easements. So people that own those properties or have those properties will be able to see, oh, there's an easement. There are many easements or encumbrances on my property for this amount from the property line. So that's where that would be.
So the building.
And if
department
the
would look
building
at that.
department came in and we saw that and there was note of the easements, then they would be like, you're gonna wanna check to see if you can build in that, because some you can.
Okay.
But that's not
Sure.
community development's department
Gotcha.
to do that.
We were
Final
just,
comment?
yes, we were just here to try to put into the record that we do agree with the surveyor. We do agree that it has been denoted on paper, but what's on paper that translates into reality is different. And, nobody, we want to welcome our new neighbors. We want to welcome our new property owners in the neighborhood. But it just is, oh, I know. As she said, this is a civil matter. This was civilly litigated. It was a 3-year lawsuit. It was adjudicated after 3 years, and we have all the paperwork that shows that we have rights. Again, what you can get an adjudication and it's on paper. I have paper. You're telling me all the things that I've already done, but now it's the implementation and the act of the neighbors working together to make sure what was adjudicated on paper is actually implemented in reality. So, I don't know how that translates for the commission.
Thank you.
Yes.
The staff have any other comments in response to the testimony or evidence on?
Sure, I think you need to make sure you give the applicant the opportunity to have the last word. So since, Street came back up, I think.
Applicant, last word?
When we first went to buy this property 2 years ago, we were aware that there were easements in place with Prairie Schooner, and there had been questions as to validity as far as right of way and who was going where, and who got to drive where, and so we were aware of that to a degree. I didn't know that there was a 50-foot easement from property line to property. I didn't know that. I knew there was an easement out there. I just didn't know how wide it was. As far as moving a fence, we'll figure it out. You know what? I'll give you my cell phone number, my email, whatever. We'll just figure it out. It's just a fence line.
It doesn't even really matter if there's a fence there. You can just take the fence out. It doesn't help us one way or another.
No, I'll keep my daughter's horses in, so there's gotta be a fence there. So, yeah, no, it's not an if or an and, I mean. So, yeah, I mean, as far as this fence line, this road, whatever, we'll figure it out. We'll just make it work. Whether it's 6 feet or 10 feet or whatever, it'll do what it is.
Need a second to think about it and
Yeah.
definitively
Right.
how we're gonna fix it because there's
Right.
new information.
Right,
we didn't get.
but we will manage to come to an equitable solution here, one way or the other.
Okay, thank you. Staff?
Thank you, Katie McDonald for the record. I just want to go over a couple things that I heard. So for deliberations, looks like Crook County Fire Rescue is offering some alternative language. Those would be reflected in page 13 and 14 with the proposed findings. Along with, had some comments regarding the road construction. Then applicant had some changes, some further conversation since the subdivision review committee that they're planning on completing the entire road. So those findings could be changed to reflect that, along with conditions of approval 10 and 18, I have noted, could use some updating from that. So those are some specifics for deliberations as you move forward. What I have changes from the CCRs and HOA or design review committee over to more proposed deed restrictions, which aligns with the code. So that proposed finding would be one that the planning commission may would look at. And then there's a couple of other findings, one on page 14 that has to deal with the fire and rescue district and fire sprinklers. If the commission wants to update, use one of those suggestions tonight. And those were my notes from, so as you move forward, those are some of the areas that would need addressed in a final decision.
Anything else, Tom?
I think I'll just add if, you wanted to discuss the fence issue, then that would need to be tied into one of the local criteria, so I don't know if that does, and that can be handled with civil matter, and it seems like it's, Prairie Schooner has a lot of complexity, and so I don't know if you guys have the facts needed to make a decision on that.
The applicant want to waive their 7-day final argument period.
Yes.
The commission will now determine if the hearing should be closed or continued to a time and date certain, either for additional testimony, additional information from staff, or for deliberation. If the commission would like to keep the record open for additional written testimony, only for 7 days is to allow additional written testimony. Next 7 days for rebuttal to new evidence submitted. First 7 days and last 7 days allows for the applicant's submission of final argument. So potential motions to close the hearing and deliberate on the subdivision. To continue the hearing to a date and time certain for additional testimony or deliberation only, if there is sufficient evidence in record. Or close the hearing but keep the written record open for a 777.
I'd like to make a motion to close for deliberations.
Second. Hunter seconds.
If the commission could please remember to state their name for.
Yep.
When they say, especially with motions and seconds, thank you.
We have a motion and a second to close the deliberation. So. Bonnie? Yeah. Kurt?
Yeah.
We,
Yes.
Yes.
and Les is yes. So now we need a motion to start the deliberations.
Kurtz, I'd make a motion to start deliberations.
Marlo Dill, I'll second.
Vote. Vote,
Yes.
Hunter,
Hunter, yes.
Marlo,
Yes.
Edith,
Yes.
Kurt, Bonnie.
Yes.
I would move into the deliberations.
In deliberations.
We're
So-
deliberating.
If we are to change the wording for the habitable space for the dwellings, to include sleeping areas for the sprinkler requirement. If we have habitable space, if we add sleeping, is that habitable sleeping space, is that take care of requirement for describing the buildings that need the sprinklers?
It was habitable space with sleeping areas, dwellings or dwellings or habitable space with sleeping areas.
I think we should adopt that. Anyone else think differently?
People like habitable dwellings, it's like there.
You want to use dwelling or dwelling unit, it's all down in the code.
Dwelling units are fine.
Either what else you got?
They're taking that very notes.
The other items. The deed restriction with Oregon usable space code. Enacts I have a question. Maybe. So is there a trigger in that causes the building department to look at that deed
For what?
for the fire sprinkler stuff?
So we will note in the subdivision, approval. So that everything with this subdivision, it comes up in, the Asala system,
Okay,
that would be a requirement.
okay.
It's as a condition of approval, every parcel created under this, approval. But yeah.
Okay. It got me thinking, because last meeting, it's like, where's the trigger?
Yep.
So.
No, great question.
And do we need to change the language on the road completion portion?
So the proposed finding as it is, what we can do with that on page 9 would be to, under the proposed findings. Would only to be, to utilize that third. Kind of sentence there, well, it is a sentence, not kind of. And then the condition of approval that goes with that is 12, which aligns already.
Already aligned.
It already aligns. So because we're not changing to a phased approach, the condition of approval already stands.
Okay.
Now with ODFW, do we need to waive a condition of approval since they seeked out, they have been. We wait on ODFW's response,
So, we received no comment
received no comment. Oh,
because
okay.
we didn't get one.
But we really didn't need their approval. We were just looking for feedback, right?
Did you see that?
Wildlife policy 2 does not, is not applicable to
So
the
that's,
subdivision.
Oh, gotcha.
I think we're fine.
Got it.
Isn't that due to condition 7, CCNRs? If they don't want to have CCNRs, to talk about fire or sprinklers or.
That's what the deed restriction is.
Okay, but are we gonna replace that with the deed restriction or leaving it there? Condition
Number 7.
So we can, what I'm hearing is that instead of CCR, potentially deed restriction, is that, so you could rewrite that to say that they could propose, they would submit those proposed deed restrictions. So that it would be instead in place of that CCR.
As,
Yes.
as,
Yeah.
as one of the conditions of approval instead of CCNR. I've forgotten her name. I don't know. Lisa, who's here? So the deed restrictions will reflect the fire, defensible space as she works with Russ on that.
Commissioner Stuck, are you looking at 7 and 10 together, combining those? It kind of sounds like maybe that's where you're
Well, if
headed
we're
with
talking
it.
about deed restrictions, and she was discussing the fire ready things
Mm-hmm.
and. Um. Don't want, you can leave 7 out completely. if you
Okay.
Don't need that, is what I'm
Mhm.
trying to say.
Okay.
What is the other?
Yeah, here we could strike 7. Right. Yeah.
Overall, I think it's put together very well.
Did we get your list covered?
Almost.
Almost.
Or maybe I just need to remember which ones I'm doing. Okay, so
So 18 is gonna be changed, the wording is gonna be changed,
So 18, I have changed to all structures, no. And any dwelling unit or structure with habitable space, including sleeping areas, are required to have fire sprinklers. Is that okay?
yes.
And then we're striking 7. Yes, okay, and then 10. Deed restrictions. Reflecting the fire ready guidelines for individual lots. In consultation with Crook County Fire and Rescue to be submitted with the final plat. Is that
That's correct.
what I'm hearing? Okay. And then the proposed findings will go to support. Those conditions of approval will then be incorporated back into the staff report so that the findings then support those decisions, those conditions of approval.
I think that the meetings that you had in advance, going back and forth and working through the problems, really put a better package together that you presented to us tonight.
Thank you. The subdivision review committee is a piece of our, kind of unique in our Title 17 code language. So it does afford those opportunities for early discussion, which really helps and encourages pre-application.
So we would entertain a motion. Restate motion includes specific revisions in the motion. And any changes to the recommendation. What do you?
Just strike number 7, just verbiage in number 10. 18. That's.
Other word?
Yeah, we strike number 7. Yeah. Change the verbiage to number 10. And. Number.
No, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve application number 217-25-000-150 PLNG for the Mueller subdivision with the conditions as discussed and changed. Be incorporated into the final decision. Oh, and this is the preliminary plat. Yes, of the preliminary plat conditions as discussed tonight and changed with staff. Be approved.
Second.
I'd second that. First.
Call for the vote. Hunter,
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
and I'm a yes.
So as staff, we will go back and make these changes as discussed in the approval and bring back the final decision for you at the July 23rd hearing for signature.
That's what
Okay.
Okay, anything more from the staff?
Not on this.
All
I'm
right,
gonna close the hearing.
okay. Motion to close the hearing.
I'd make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
I.
Aye.
On our agenda. That is, do we have community updates? So I don't think we have any community updates, since this is our 3rd week in a row seeing each other. So that's all we have for tonight.
Okay.
Good answer.
You wanna close the meeting?
Make a motion that we close the meeting.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is closed at 5:45.